3 a.m. prayer that casts out every demon in your life, shocking truth revealed. Lurking in the dead of night, they call out from the shadows whispers and phantoms that torment. Every flicker of a candle feels like a test of faith. The clock strikes 3, and just like that, a chilling silence blankets the world. It's the witching hour when the veil between reality and the supernatural lifts and all that haunts the corners of your mind comes rushing forth. They say, at this hour, a prayer can unleash powers beyond imagination, casting out every demon that grips your soul. But what if this prayer doesn't just work? What if it reveals dark truths about your past, shaking the very foundation of your being? The old tales speak of a small town, tucked away in the woods, where people claim to witness the inexplicable. Flickering lights dance across the sky, and lost voices echo in the winds. Many who lived there spoke of nightmarish visions and shadows that wriggled in the corners of their eyes. One woman, Sarah, had every reason to believe. For months, she'd been hearing whispers, taunting and harassing her during the night. She could feel a weight squeezing her chest, an energy simply too dark to ignore. It was a feeling she couldn't shake off. Her fingers trembled as she turned to social media, searching for answers. Her late-night scrolling led her to an eerie video titled 3 a.m. Prayer that casts out every demon in your life. Could this be the answer? As Sarah sat in her dimly lit room, the weight in her chest felt heavier. The video had claimed that repeating a certain phrase at this hour could send each demon packing, banishing them from her life forever. A lump formed in her throat as she considered the implications. What if this prayer wasn't just a whimsical theory? What if it actually brought the darkness closer? Goosebumps prickled her skin at the very thought. The excitement twisted into a knot of fear in her stomach, making her heart race. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But as the clock ticked closer to 3, a sense of desperation overwhelmed her. As she clasped her hands together, the corners of her vision darkened. The prayer echoed in her mind like a heartbeat, luring her deeper into the unknown. Would she finally uncover the secrets that had haunted her for so long, or would the shadows consume her instead? The answer loomed just beyond her grasp, thick with suspense and anticipation, ready to spring forth and reshape all she knew. What awaited her in the stillness of that hour? The air buzzed with unanswered questions, and she felt the pull so strong, so intoxicating. Sarah steeled her heart, knowing she was about to step into something she might never escape. As the clock hands met at 3, an unnatural chill seeped through the room. Shadows coiled and twisted like living things, and Sarah felt the breath hitch in her throat. She closed her eyes, whispering the prayer she'd replayed 1,000 times in her mind. Each word dripped with urgency, a desperate plea against the encroaching darkness. Please remove the demons from my life. The moment she uttered the last syllable, the room plunged into an even deeper silence. The air tightened around her, and for a fleeting second, she thought she heard her own voice echoing back, mocking her. Was it the wind playing tricks, or something more sinister? She strained to listen, but all that remained was a haunting stillness. Then it happened. A sudden flicker of light illuminated her surroundings. Something shifted in the corner of her eye, and she turned just in time to catch a glimpse of a shadow scuttling away, melding into the darkness. Her heart raced as adrenaline coursed through her veins. Was it a figment of her imagination, or had she truly summoned something? She stood up, her legs shaky beneath her, and approached the source of the flickering light. A candle she thought extinguished was back to life, flames dancing wildly. It cast elongated shadows against the walls, twisting them into monstrous shapes. With each tentative step, Fear clawed at her lungs, each breath feeling more labored than the last. "Show yourself." Sarah's voice trembled, but she steeled herself, drumming up any bravado she could find. Lifting the candle higher, she peered into the dark corners, the very places her mind told her demons had been lurking. Then she heard it, a whisper, soft and chilling, wrapping around her like a cold wind. You should not have called. Panic surged through her, but curiosity wrestled against it. "What do you mean? What are you?" Her voice cracked, but the urgency of her question hung in the air. The shadows swirled, forming a shape that felt painfully familiar. Memories flooded her mind, fragments of childhood nightmares, faces disguised in mischief and malice. Figures she thought were gone forever. "You think a prayer can save you from your past? We are always close, Sarah. Always." The ground beneath her seemed to pulse, alive and malevolent. A wave of nausea washed over her as a truth she had long buried began to unearth itself. Each whisper was a reminder of unfinished business, of betrayals she had not forgiven, of choices that had haunted her for years. "Stop!" she screamed, slamming her hands over her ears, but the voice only grew louder, enveloping her in a cacophony of despair. "You wanted the truth, didn't you? You wanted to know what truly haunts you." With the shadows closing in, her mind spiraled into panic. Desperation clawed at her heart. If this prayer had called forth her past, could it also give her something she needed? Could it actually help her confront the demons that had tormented her for so long? As more memories surged, battling against her will to forget, she realized that in this fight, she needed to lock eyes with her own fears. "What do you want?" she forced out, fighting against the tide of darkness. The candle flickered violently, casting ominous shadows that threatened to consume her. The voice slithered through the air, taunting as it whispered the name she had buried deep within, a name that echoed like a death knell. "Your truth is waiting, Sarah. Are you ready to face it?" Just then, the room quaked as shadows surged forward. Her heart raced as time slipped away, her instincts screaming to run, yet she felt an odd flicker of courage amidst the chaos. The truth awaited her, yet the question lingered: would she find the strength to embrace it, or would she be devoured by the darkness? The shadows surged like a wave, crashing against her resolve. Sarah pressed her back against the cold wall, gripping the candle like a lifeline. It flickered, but the light remained, pushing back against the darkness, if only for a moment. "I will face whatever you are," she shouted, her voice stronger than she felt. The breath of the room felt alive, swirling like fog, and then in a heartbeat, it all stopped. The shadows froze mid-dance, the air stale and heavy. She could hear nothing but the pounding of her own heart, an unsettling drum echoing in the thick silence. "Face us? You think you can just summon us and then challenge us?" "Oh, Sarah, we will show you the truth," the voice replied, this time melodic yet tinged with malice. It was as if she had beckoned something ancient, an entity lying dormant, ready to be awakened. The shadows coiled and twisted about her feet and a chill crept up her spine. Images flashed in her mind like old film reels: her childhood bedroom, the darkened corners she warned herself not to look at, the sinister laughter of her forgotten friends lost to time. With every echo, memories dripped into her consciousness, each loaded with emotional weight. Faces she had long buried resurfaced, the ones she had chosen to forget. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "You're not real. You're just my past." But uncertainty clung to her, gnawing at her certainty. Suddenly, the candle flickered once more, revealing a figure amidst the shadows. It was her, yet it wasn't he. The doppelganger mimicked her movements but wore a twisted grin, eyes gleaming with malice. "You think you can outrun what you've done? What you believe you have escaped?" The doppelganger leaned closer. "You are still the frightened girl hiding in the closet. You're still afraid of the dark." "No." The word came out stronger this time. "I'm not that girl anymore." But doubt trickled into her veins like poison. What if they were right? What if all her efforts to leave the past behind led her right back into its arms? Determined, Sarah took a step forward, igniting a spark of defiance. I want to remember. I want to see the truth. The shadows writhed as though her words stung. The room throbbed with energy, and the shadows began to contort, morphing into swirling shapes that transformed into half-formed faces, restless spirits trapped in a cycle of pain. All you've ever wanted, Sarah, was love, yet betrayal is the foundation you built your life upon. Their voices intermingled, weaving a dirge of despair. You think you're free? You think you can erase what has stained you? The candle's flame waned, flickering dimly. She could feel the cold seep deeper, numbing her resolve. I'll show you. The words burst forth, not as a question, but a command. I'll reclaim what's mine. With that, she plunged the candle into the shadows, willing them to show her the way to her own truth, her own healing. The shadows hissed and crackled, swirling violently around her. Just as she felt ready to break through, a sharp pain shot through her chest. She gasped, clutching at the ache. Her own fears wrapped around her, squeezing tighter like a vice. What is happening? Panic clawed at her throat. A voice, low and dark, echoed around her. Are you sure you don't want to turn back, Sarah? Not all truths are meant to be uncovered. Some hold curses you wish you had never found. Her heart thundered in her ears, but inside, a fire ignited. No. Whatever it is, I'll face it. She cried back, steeling herself against the shadows. The figures shrieked, their sounds merging into a roar that shook the very foundation of her house. In that moment, she realized the stakes were higher than she imagined. Would she really uncover the secrets of her past, or would the demons consume her for good? As the darkness surged forward, she felt her world teetering on the edge. A decision loomed, waiting to be made. The truth was beckoning, but at what cost? The shadows lunged, pulling at her as if they had a will of their own. Sarah's breath hitched, each inhale sharp with fright. A panicked thought raced through her mind: what if she was out of her depth? But just as quickly, another flicker of determination surged through her. This was her moment, a desperate cry for liberation echoed in the recesses of her heart. Show me! She screamed, plunging deeper into the swirling mass. In response, a cacophony erupted around her: screams, whispers, the laughter of that childhood group of friends who had once haunted her. She couldn't let them drown her in nostalgia soaked in pain. Suddenly, the energy shifted. The shadows around her pulled back and the room expanded into a cavernous space, dotted with flickering candles, illuminating horrific scenes from the past. Each flame bore witness to a moment that had haunted her. A birthday party gone awry, a fight that spiraled out of control, the day her mother had walked out. No! She faltered, clenching her fists. I will not cower. But even as the words left her mouth, she felt the weight of every memory press down on her shoulders. As the flames danced, they reflected not just light, but the dark secrets she buried: her guilt, her anger, and her fear. Face us, Sarah. The voices coiled around her, dripping with venom. You can't escape. We are part of you. With that, shadows converged into grotesque figures, each representing a different part of her pain: the mockery, the betrayal, the fear. They surged toward her, mouths twisted in cruel smiles, ready to consume her. No! This time, her resolve crystallized into something solid. You don't define me. She held up the candle like a sword, the flame burning brightly against the darkness. I won't be the person you want me to be anymore. The moment her voice rang out, the shadows recoiled. There was a fracture in their unity, a crack that signaled vulnerability. She took a step closer, heart pounding fiercely. You're just echoes. You have no power over me unless I let you. The shadowy figures shrieked in rage, their forms flickering as they struggled to maintain their shape. She could feel her own pulse synchronizing with the candle's flame, a rhythm of strength and determination that pulsed through the air. The more firmly she stood, the more light pushed against the obsidian gloom, then the ground trembled beneath her, a dangerous rumble that made her knees buckle. "You're playing a dangerous game." A voice snarled, frigid and insistent. "The truth you seek may devour you whole." Yet Sarah felt clarity rising from the depths of her being, a hard-won wisdom. "Let it. I'd rather fight than live in fear." As she spoke, the candle's flame flared back to life, a tempest of warmth sweeping through the shadowy chaos. The figures screeched, contorting in agony as light flooded the room. One particular shadow, larger than the rest, began to unravel, its form twisting into her mother's silhouette. A sharp gasp escaped Sarah's lips. "Sarah?" the figure asked, voice quivering with uncertainty. "Mom?" The word hung between them, heavy with all the unspoken layers of loss and blame they both carried. One heartbeat. Another. Just as recognition flickered between them, a chasm of darkness erupted, threatening to swallow them all again. "No!" she shouted, reaching out. "Don't leave me." The fabric of reality twisted as shadows surged forward, swallowing the golden light. "The past never really dies, Sarah. It always comes to claim what's theirs in that moment." An image crystallized in Sarah's mind. The truth she had been seeking, was it even what she wanted? Or was it a reckoning that might hurl her into chaos? The shadows closed in again, an ominous promise heavier than before. As she braced for the storm, a realization washed over her, a clarity that beckoned her to confront everything she had pushed aside. Would she dare to know? As the darkness cloaked her, the echo of her own heartbeat became a countdown. Time was slipping away. Would she plunge deeper into the abyss for a chance at redemption, or would the shadows claim her? The darkness swirled around Sarah, each shadow a monstrous embodiment of her regrets and fears. The moment her mother's silhouette had flickered into view, hope grappled with desperation in her heart. "Mom," she repeated, the longing laced with disbelief. "Sarah, listen." The shadow seemed to falter, voice trembling with an echo of familiarity. "You mustn't cling to the past. It's a trap that will ensnare you completely." Her attention wavered. Could this really be her mother? The figure hesitated, a flicker of light passing through the oppressive veil. But as the weight of shadows pressed closer, their grasp tightened, dragging her back into the abyss of despair. "I won't let you pull me under," she shouted, her voice merging with the feverish crackle of the candle's flame. Drawing strength from her anger, she thrust the candle forward. The flames leapt higher, saturating the air with a fierce, boiling heat. The shadowy figures shrieked in agony, retreating momentarily, their grotesque faces twisting into forms more nightmarish with each second. "You can't escape the truth," one of the figures cried, taunting and hollow. "What you fear is already within you." Their words landed like daggers in her heart, cutting deeper than any physical injury. But as she met their relentless gaze, something shifted. Each flickering candlelight not only illuminated her fears but unveiled a flicker of courage, revealing the strength she had buried for too long. "I choose who I am," she declared firmly, feeling the tremors of the past begin to crack. The shadows writhed as if struck by a fierce wind. The light burned hotter and brighter, consuming everything in its path, bending the chaos to her will. Yet the shadows roared, rallying against her, united by a terrifying force. From the depths of the chaos, a piercing voice boomed. "You think you can conquer us? We are your memories, the very essence of your existence." Gritting her teeth, Sarah pressed on, feeling the ground quake beneath her. "You do not own me," she cried. Each word felt like a step away from the precipice of her torment, but behind her voice lurked fear. Did she believe it? Suddenly, the familiar warmth of her mother's spirit surged from the figure. "Sarah, I was wrong. I left without explanation, but it wasn't your fault." The revelation surged through her, a tidal wave of guilt and anger converging into clarity. "You left me," she gasped, anger mixed with sorrow. "I had to find my own light. You have to do the same." The shadow silhouette pleaded, slowly dissolving into wisps of silver mist. No! Panic hit her as her connection frayed. Sarah surged forward, reaching for the figure as it disintegrated before her. Don't go. I'm ready to face this. But the darkness bit back, swirling aggressively around her ankles, dragging her down. You are still afraid of the answer. A scream bubbled in her throat, but she swallowed it down. Was she truly ready? The darkness shifted, forming back into a solid mass. Just as Sarah steadied her breath, the shadows amalgamated, twisting into whispers of her past, revealing raw, untold stories. Each shadow grinned, eager to unleash the torment they represented. I don't know if I can do this. She breathed, and the ground roared in response, the room shaking violently. In that moment of crisis, a single truth crystallized in her mind: stepping into the light meant facing her pain head-on. As the shadows lunged, a fierce light ignited within her, brighter than ever before. I will not be your prisoner. She bellowed, raising her candle high, but before the ember of her newfound strength could fully illuminate the void before her, the shadows closed in, their faces changing with an all-too-familiar fury, and suddenly, everything went dark. Was this the moment of her reckoning, or just the beginning of an even darker confrontation? What would be unleashed in the depths of that oblivion? The darkness swallowed Sarah whole, thick and suffocating. For a moment, she floated in an abyss of silence, her heart racing in her chest. Panic set in as she realized she was lost, alone in a void where the shadows had slithered away, but their haunting presence lingered like a bruise, then, a flicker. A spark ignited deep within her, challenging the oppressive nothingness. She reached out, searching for something, anything that would guide her back. Memories, fragmented images rushed at her like a tidal wave, crashing over her senses. Sarah, a soft voice called from the murk. It was faint but unmistakable, her mother's voice, laced with love and sorrow. You must find your way back, you can do this. Her mind raced. What do you mean? Where are you? The darkness shifted slightly, shapes momentarily crystallizing into scenes from her childhood: the laughter of her friends, the warmth of her first love, and the agonizing moment when her mother had vanished. Each image sliced through her, eliciting a fierce combination of joy and pain. And then she heard it, the sound of shadows stirring, closing in again, hungry and ravenous. With renewed determination, she gripped her candle tighter. The flame flickered wildly, as if attuned to her heightened emotions. I am not afraid. She screamed, bracing herself. I am stronger than my fears. The shadows recoiled, momentarily halted by the heat of her words. But then they rushed back, sharp as glass and insistent as a storm. You can't escape what you are. One sneered, mocking her. You're nothing without us. No. Sarah shouted, taking a breath filled with courage. You're a part of my past, not my future. As if echoing her resolve, the candle's flame blazed, illuminating the space around her with a fierce brightness. Yet, the shadows surged forward like a tidal wave, colliding against the light. They began to take recognizable forms, the faces of loved ones, distorted by fear and despair. You cannot escape the truth, Sarah, they echoed, their collective voices chilling her to the core. A pang of doubt swung in her chest. Were they right? Was she doomed to this cycle of pain forever? No. She cried, her voice trembling yet defiant. I refuse to be defined by the darkness. I choose to fight. The shadows hesitated, sensing a crack in their hold. The claustrophobic pressure lifted slightly, granting her just enough space. Drawing deep from within, she focused on that flicker of warmth and the love she felt for her mother. You taught me to rise. You taught me to shine. Her candle transformed, glowing with fierce intensity as it surged beyond its former limits, sending a radiant beam throughout the dark void. The shadows screeched, recoiling from the brilliance that threatened to consume them. Still, they pressed on, thrashing wildly, desperate to keep hold of their grip on her. Face your fears, Sarah. face the truth. But their voices faltered as she summoned the strength tethered to her identity. It swirled like a cyclone around her, amplifying her resolve. I am not afraid. I embrace my truth. In a sudden rush, the shadows whirled and howled, their forms breaking apart like glass shattering. Sarah's heart pounded in rhythm with the fading echoes of their madness, her breath hitching as realizations began flooding in. Every regret, every moment of pain, were all fragments of her story. They didn't define her, they were part of the tapestry of her life. As the last echoes of discontent faded into a whisper, the candlelight basked the space in warmth, revealing a shimmering doorway ahead. It flickered enticingly, inviting her to step through. But a sudden chill swept through the air, and an ominous force whispered, "This isn't the end, Sarah. What awaits on the other side may just be worse. Are you truly ready to face it?" In that moment of stillness, doubt sprang to life, clawing at her resolve. What awaited her on the other side of the light? Would she be ready for the truths it revealed, or would the shadows return, fiercer than ever? With one deep breath, Sarah stepped toward the shimmering doorway, drawn by the flickering light that promised hope. Each step felt like treasuring a fragile whisper of courage in her heart. But those chilling words echoed dissonantly in her mind, "This isn't the end." As she crossed the threshold, the passage felt electric, buzzing with unspoken stories. She landed on solid ground, blinking in disbelief as colors weaved in and out, vibrant and soothing. Yet her pulse quickened at the sight before her. It wasn't a sanctuary, it was a battleground. Shadows danced around her like vipers, slithering between pillars of light, each one a darker reflection of her psyche. The fear of failure, the sting of betrayal, the gnawing loneliness. They all whispered, "You cannot escape us. Get away." She yelled, wielding her candle as if it were a sword. The light flared, and the shadows shrieked, momentarily evaporating into wisps of gray smoke. "Face the truth, Sarah," they hissed, reforming quicker than she could retreat. "Why can't you just leave me alone?" she gasped, taking a step back, heart racing at the sight of their ominous shapes gathering closer. Each face she saw was like a mirror reflecting unbidden regrets. Suddenly, she noticed something unique: a shimmering mirror set within the cacophony of shadows. Its glass was like liquid silver, pulsating softly with hope, yet swirling with dark memories. As she moved closer, a fragmented reflection caught her attention. It was her mother, her image distorted, caught in a silent scream. "Mom!" Sarah shouted, reaching out to touch the glass. But just as her fingers grazed its edge, the shadows surged, yanking her back with jagged claws of despair. "Do you want to know the truth?" they jeered, the shapes merging into a grotesque figure that towered over her. "The truth about your mother?" "No," Sarah retorted, fighting against the consuming dread. "I already know." But they pressed on, their voices rising in a cacophony of accusations. "She left you. You were not enough to keep her here. You are abandoned, unwanted." Pain stabbed through her. It felt like a knife lodged in her gut. Tears sprang to her eyes, but she fought to keep them at bay. "You're wrong," she shouted, digging deep for strength. "I am enough. I deserve love. I will not be burdened by your lies." With determination flooding her spirit, she raised the candle high, its flame igniting with a newfound ferocity. The shadows quivered, and as the light pierced their darkness, the mirror shimmered again, clearer now. She saw her mother's face clearly, tender and radiant, the love that once enveloped her heart. Sarah's voice, soft yet powerful, flowed from the glass. "You didn't lose me. I am always with you." She felt warmth wash over her, binding the wounds of her heart. "Don't listen to them. Remember who you are." The shadows shrieked in fear, contorting and writhing as the light rebounded. "You can't escape the truth." But Sarah focused, and with a resonant voice, she declared, "I choose my own truth. I am strong, I am worthy, and I will fight for what is rightfully mine." With that declaration, a tidal wave of brilliance emanated from the candle, swallowing the darkness once and for all. The shadows exploded into nothingness, and she felt free, for the first time in what felt like forever. Sarah staggered back, gasping for air, suddenly engulfed by silence. The mirror shimmered before her, reflecting the glow of her spirit. But it flickered ominously, its surface rippling. What lies ahead, Sarah? The lingering question hung heavy in the air. As the fog of her surroundings began to lift, she realized the void was shifting again. New shapes were forming in the distance, an entirely new challenge lying just beyond the horizon. Are you ready for what comes next? That familiar whisper coiled back, luring her deeper. A chill crept back into her spine. She took a step forward. The next chapter awaited. It could be a new beginning, or a deeper descent into chaos. What awaited her on that threshold now? The air thickened as Sarah ventured forward, a strange pull drawing her deeper into the swirling mist. The echo of her own voice still lingered, "I choose my own truth." Yet it felt like a fragile promise against the oncoming tide of uncertainty. Shapes emerged more distinctly now, a forest, dense and twisting, bathed in twilight. Branches reached like skeletal hands above her, shadows shifting eerily, mixing with the dim light from her candle. Each step felt heavier, like she was wading through tar. What awaited in the heart of this shadowy wood? Sarah, the soft whisper flickered around her, and for a moment, she thought she could feel her mother's presence. But the moment was fleeting. The darkness began to pulse, closing in like a predator. She tightened her grip on the candle, its flame flickering nervously against the powerful wind that rustled the leaves. "Where are you?" She called out into the shadows, but the only response was silence, punctuated by the occasional crack of a branch. Anxiety knotted her stomach. Ahead, a clearing opened up, bathed in an otherworldly glow. Wisps of light swirled like fireflies around an ancient stone altar at its center. As she approached, familiar faces began to form in the flickering light: friends, family, and even those she'd lost along the way. Their eyes bore into her, a mix of encouragement and sorrow. "Sarah, face your fears," a voice urged, unmistakably her father's. But as quickly as it came, the faces merged into darkened silhouettes, twisting and distorting until they faded completely, replaced by a figure shrouded in black, a shadow of her past. "Are you really ready, Sarah?" The figure taunted, its voice a twisted harmony of all the doubts that had ever trapped her. "To confront what you truly are? What lies behind the veil of your courage?" Her heart raced. "I want to let you take control of me," she shouted, feeling the warmth of the candle radiate fiercely now. "Control? You've lost it long ago. You think your mother's words can save you?" It laughed, echoing in the hollow space, each cackle drumming against her chest like a clock counting down the moments of her demise. "Let me show you the truth, little girl." A rush of cold air swept through the clearing, lifting an ominous fog. Dark memories began to swirl like a tempest, flashes of abandonment, hurt, and failure crashing through her consciousness. She saw herself from the outside, a vulnerable girl left alone in the shadows, trapped in pain. "No!" Sarah cried, intensity welling within her. "That's not who I am." The candle flared one more time, shooting beams of light into the darkness, revealing moments of joy and strength that had been overshadowed: small victories, laughter shared, bonds forged in fire. "You can't silence my truth," she yelled, the flame expanding. "I carry my mother's love. I am not alone." With a roar, the dark figure lunged, but the candle pulsed brighter, illuminating the clearing with a searing brilliance. The shadow recoiled, its form twisting uncontrollably as it fought against the light. Sarah focused all her energy on the flame, fueled by every ounce of love and support that had ever surrounded her. "You will not control me." With that, she thrust the candle forward, shattering the boundary between light and shadow. A shockwave rippled through the clearing, energy crackling like unbound lightning. As the light exploded outward, engulfing everything in its path. The shadows screamed, a cacophony of rage and sorrow. But even as the darkness dissipated, new shapes began to emerge in the distance, ink-black figures rising from the remnants of the night. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest at the sight. "Come, Sarah," they beckoned, their voices intoxicating. The real battle has just begun. Trembling, she stood in the aftermath of her victory, staring into the void while fresh dread filled the air. What would come next? What dark truths awaited her in the depths of her own soul? The ground rumbled beneath Sarah as the black figures advanced, their shapes fluid and shifting, each step echoing like a distant drumbeat in her ears. Panic clawed at her throat. They moved closer, beckoning her with an alluring promise of freedom and power. But she felt their intentions twist in the air, laden with despair. "Come, Sarah," they murmured, voices soft yet filled with manipulation. "Don't you want to know who you are? What you can become?" The cadence gripped her heart, almost hypnotic. She could see their faces now, faces of people she once trusted, alongside faces that dripped with malice. Their smiles were sharp, almost predatory. "No!" she gasped, stepping back, the candle flickering as her hands trembled. It was all too much, the weight of their expectations, her past failures clamoring for her attention. "Stay true to yourself, Sarah," her father's voice echoed faintly. But the shadows laughed, drowning his words in their intoxicating melody. "Your truth. What does it mean to you?" They pressed, closing in tight, the air growing thick with their dark energy. Each question felt like a dagger, she could feel the sharp edges draw closer. A surge of doubt coursed through her veins. "Face it, little girl," the shadow of her past whispered again, the voice colder now, edging on mockery. "You're lost without them. You've always depended on them. Even now, in this moment, you're afraid." With a deep breath, Sarah grounded herself. "I know my truth," she shouted, louder this time, the flicker of her candle igniting a fire within her. "I don't need you to tell me who I am." The figures hesitated, the darkness around them flickering as if unsure of their own power. Sarah raised the candle higher, spilling its light like life-giving nectar into the very air surrounding her. "Every fear, every doubt, and every failure can't define me," she declared, choosing to embrace the warmth flowing from the candle. Their forms twisted and flickered, faces crumbling into grotesque shapes as they recoiled from the light. Each breath filled her with courage, igniting memories of support and resilience. She remembered the laughter shared with her friends, the gentle hugs from her mother, the fierce resolve she felt standing victorious in the face of adversity. "Those moments made me strong," she screamed, unleashing her grief and joy with every word. "They are part of me, but they do not control me." The shadows writhed violently, howling in frustration as the candle's glow fused with her determination, amplifying its brilliance into a searing light that danced with anger and hope. Sarah stepped forward, bathed in light, the shadows retreating frantically, their voices becoming a jumble of despair. "Run!" they shrieked, "you can't escape from what's inside you." But Sarah felt liberated, the shadows fading into a mist, chasing after ghosts that no longer haunted her. She could feel the power of the candle, the love it represented, illuminating the path ahead of her. Then, she heard it, a soft thrum like a heartbeat. "What?" she breathed. Before her stood a towering arch of light, an entryway shimmering with radiant energy. It whispered promises. What's beyond is a choice, more truths await. As she stepped towards it, a shiver ran down her spine. What lay ahead could be salvation, or something far worse. Her heart raced. Did she dare to enter this gateway to the unknown? The air crackled with energy around her, and she was caught between fear and excitement. "What decision will you make, Sarah?" an echoing voice asked from behind. Turning, she saw the shadows gather again, more furious, more desperate. "Choose wisely, you have but a moment." With a deep breath, her heart pounded in her chest. What awaited her? What would she find on the other side of her next truth? The arch before Sarah throbbed with a light that beckoned her closer, casting away the remnants of shadows that still flickered in her periphery. She could feel the presence of the figures gathering again, their faces twisting with anger and desperation. "Don't be a fool, Sarah," the voice screeched, echoing through the clearing. "You know what lies behind that light. It's worse than you can imagine." But she stood firm, her heart pounding in her chest as reality shifted around her. With every breath, the warmth from the candle intensified, filling her with a newfound confidence. "You don't control me anymore," she shouted, feeling the words build inside her like a tidal wave. "You are just memories, echoes of my pain. I don't need to live under your shadows." The shadows twisted violently, their forms writhing in protest. "You may think you've conquered us," they hissed, "but we are part of you." Their words bore into her, attempting to unearth her insecurities, but she stood resolute, tired of their lies. "Then let us see what I am." With that declaration, she surged forward, stepping into the arch of light. The moment she crossed the threshold, a rush of energy enveloped her, electrifying and pure. Everything around her shimmered with colors she had never seen before: blues, greens, all radiating warmth, sending waves of comfort through her. But as she breathed in, the chaos of her past surged at the corners of her vision, reforming into landscapes rife with conflict. She found herself standing in a yard her childhood home lay before her, but it was cloaked in the eerie silence of ghosts. Memories began to replay: a birthday party where laughter turned to betrayal, a friendship that splintered, the familiar warmth of family vanishing into hollow echoes. Yet, this time, she felt different. The candle pulsed in her hand, a beacon illuminating the truth hidden in the shadows of her experiences. "These don't control me," she whispered fiercely. "These are lessons, not chains." With each proclamation, the memories began to shift, morphing into visions of strength and wisdom learned from her struggles. She remembered her first solo adventure, the joy of accomplishment, the warmth of a loving embrace. "Sarah," a familiar voice drifted to her from the shadows. It was her mother, the love across time entwining with the pain. "You've always had the strength within you. Don't let the shadows define you." As she stepped deeper into the scene before her, Sarah faced the memories head-on. "I lost you," she proclaimed to the air, emotions swirling like a tempest around her. "But I won to lose myself." The figures of her past began to flicker, their shapes mixing with newfound clarity. "You taught me resilience. You taught me love. I choose to remember that." The moment those words burst forth, the shadows that had once eclipsed her vision receded, revealing light where darkness had consumed her. Sarah felt a tremendous shift. She had faced the very essence of her fear and transformed it into a rooted strength, like turning ashes into a garden. A new path opened before her, a winding trail leading into a sun-soaked forest, golden leaves swirling in a soft breeze. The shadows faded into distant memories, unable to hold her in their grasp any longer. With the candle raised defiantly, she marched forward, invigorated by the strength she had realized was never truly lost. But as she moved deeper into the forest, the echoes of whispers chased her. "You will face more truth," they warned, a lingering reminder of conflict yet to come. "Face it, Sarah. The battle may be won, but the war is ongoing. Bring it on," she declared, her heart pounding with fierce confidence. "I will keep fighting for who I am." The realization settled in her heart like sunlight breaking through clouds. Yes, darkness would always exist, but with her light, she could navigate even the darkest paths, and from that day forward, she pledged to embrace every truth, every moment, knowing each experience made up the mosaic of her exquisite life, no longer burdened by the shadows of her past. As Sarah journeyed deeper into the forest, she felt lighter, like she was shedding layers of doubt, revealing the true version of herself within. Every step further illuminated her path, beckoning her toward the endless possibilities that awaited her ahead. "This is who I am," she thought fiercely. Strong, resilient, unafraid. And with that, Sarah began to walk forward, ready to embrace not just a final chapter, but a lifetime of her own choosing. Don't let this story end without your voice. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. What do you think awaits Sarah on her journey ahead? This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your engagement is what makes this journey so special.